Hello and welcome to the LRM podcast, sponsored by Adrian Flux Insurance. I'm Martin Dominy.
And I'm Steve Miller.
And you join us for an hour of chat about Land Rovers and everything to do with owning them. Right, well, we've had a huge response from recent podcasts, not actually about Land Rovers, but about which order you eat your meal deals and your McDonald's in, which is both hilarious and slightly concerning at the same time, because people seem more fussed about food than they do about Land Rovers. So maybe we should change to a food podcast.
Well, sometimes I feel more fussed about food than podcasts.
Quite often. I can relate, to be fair.
Not podcasts, Land Rovers. Sorry, yeah.
That's a Freudian slip.
Yeah. I don't care about podcasts, I just care about eating.
Scott Wickham is one of the many people who got back to us and said, well, first of all, he sent a picture of a very old LRM T-shirt. Check that out. For the record, I'm showing Steve a picture of the LRM T-shirt that Scott has found.
I used to own that T-shirt.
It's
not his actual T-shirt. my one. I had that T-shirt before I ever worked for the magazine.
Yeah, it's the old LRM logo, and it's written by enthusiasts for enthusiasts, which I think is still 100% true today.
That's definitely circa early 2000s.
Do you think? It looks older.
Well, it's probably been washed. Quality merchandise that never fades.
Right, that's a good question. Should we bring back merchandise?
I think we should.
Should we start knocking out some T-shirts and stickers?
There was a problem, right? This is the thing, right? So how many XXLs do you order and how many smalls do you order?
I don't
versus large and medium and all the different sizes.
Well, the thing is, obviously, in this day, in this modern technology that we enjoy, you can just set up all your designs online and then people can buy them from a third party and then they just make them to order. So you don't have to have tons in stock.
Yeah, but there is no money in it, believe it or not. How much would our listeners pay for a T-shirt?
How much
There's
would
a
you
question.
Pay for a T-shirt? We're not doing it for the money, though, Steve. We're doing it for the love.
Oh, okay. Yeah, try running that past the bosses.
Anyway, this T-shirt's fantastic. He says he reckons it's got some miles on it, and I think I would probably agree. That looks like it's been through a wash or two, doesn't it? The old transfer's breaking up a little bit.
But now I want to see more old LRM merchandise that people have bought over the years, if they've got any.
Yeah, do it. If you've got any old LRM merchandise, the sticker is a good one. I've got the old purple and yellow sticker.
You have?
Purple, yellow and white. Editorial at lrm.co.uk. I
want to know who the super fans are out there.
The LRM super fans. Anyway, Scott eats his fries first at McDonald's because once they're cold, they're horrible. I can't actually disagree with you on that, Scott.
So Scott is right.
However, you are still a psychopath if you eat your crisps before your sandwich from your meal.
It's the same difference. It's potato, isn't it?
You're wrong.
The same.
Richard Pigg from Britpark got in touch and he said he's with me on that. You eat the sandwich and the crisps at the same time, or the sandwich first, not the crisps. You madman. Right. Anyway.
Well, he is right because he's a nice big advertiser for Land Rover Monthly, so couldn't disagree more.
Well, plus he's right because that's the correct way to do things. But anyway, right. There's another listener has got in touch, and once I have got him up on the screen, I will read his email. He says, we're getting quite a lot of questions about painting.
Okay.
Painting is something quite close to my heart, but also something I'm quite bored of doing because I've painted every single panel on my Series 3 separately, and it's time consuming and dull.
It's probably because it's taken you about 3 hours to stir the paint from its
it hasn't
1 ounce state.
It hasn't totally settled back down into the the completely separated sludge that it was before, but it has got like a bit of a skin on it when you open the pot now.
So, top tip, use in-date paint. There you go.
Yeah, don't use paint that's from 1993, I think the thing was. But anyway, moving on to Ian's question. He says, thanks for the entertaining and informative podcast. I love it. Really great to have a weekly fix of Land Rover chat to keep me in touch with the world of Land Rover. I'm also a regular LRM reader. Thank you very much. We get a digital subscription with our local library here in New Zealand. There we go, reaching all the corners of the planet. But when I can, I still go and buy the physical magazine once in a while. Old habits. My Land Rover history is fairly light. I've always loved them. Really caught the bug after an off-road course he did somewhere in Kent. He's actually from the UK, which was part of the training for my job. Then he bought a Disco 1. And more recently, here in New Zealand, I've got hold of a Series IIA, 1972, which seems to have spent a lot of time submerged in clay, judging by the amount of sticky gunge I had to get out of all the nooks and crannies, including inside the chassis. This has been through the dismantling phase and now is in the rebuild phase. 6 years and counting. Sounds similar to your 90, except he's got further.
Yeah.
All
right.
My plan. I was going to say, I beat you to it this week. My plan is to do the painting myself. Well, all the panels are off, and to keep costs reasonable. Have you got any tips for respray work? There are many YouTube videos and forums I've trawled. All have good advice, but I'm wondering if you've got any tips or hacks. Cheers and keep up the good work, Ian. You've sprayed Land Rovers.
I have, and we touched on this once before in a previous podcast. I did mine, and I was so keen to get the paint on that I did it too late in the day. And we spoke about this, about the dew point, didn't we?
Yes.
So the atmosphere became wet in an open-fronted shed in the summer, and it made the paint crack and have like a satin finish.
Yeah, didn't you paint it in the evening or late afternoon before it reached dew point? That's...
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then I was just steady away in the shed with the lights on, the compressor running, carried on, loads of layers of paint on it, and then just had to dry in amongst that sort of summer that you get in the UK, that damp.
Yeah, I know.
Air.
Okay.
Although, to be honest, right, so I painted something the other day using some Coniston green, so I had to replace the door hinge on my Land Rover because, when they wear out. Mm-hmm. So I bought standard hinge, and then I bought some primer and some Coniston green paint, and I just did nice, steady layers, and I don't think you would be able to tell that wasn't professionally painted.
I was going to say the way...
And a lacquer on the top.
Okay. The way paint has come on in recent years, you can get a really, really good finish from a can.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a lot of videos online from the Paint Man aerosols.
Yes, we've mentioned them before, haven't we?
Yeah, and people applying that, keeping your wet edge as you do.
Yes, yeah.
It just goes on. It looks fantastic. I would say, and this is the real cliche when it comes to paint, especially spray paint, most of the finish is in the preparation work.
Yeah, I always use like panel wipe.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's super clean.
Because if you're doing an older vehicle like a Series IIA, you need to make sure that any high spots, any sort of bits of old paint are knocked completely smooth. Otherwise, as soon as you put, because it's spray paint is so thin, as soon as you put that on, you'll just see straight through it, and you'll have, it'll just ruin the finish. So,
that's a good point.
Really do spend the time rubbing it back to bare metal if you can. Put on a filler primer, rub that back, get any high spots, any low spots. It's a time-consuming, boring job, but it really does pay off.
So I remember doing my 110, which was a soft top 110. So you can imagine I didn't have any hard top size to paint. I remember doing 50 to 60 hours of prep time.
I bet.
And even then, I stupidly rushed the finish. What I would say, and I use a compressor there and went and bought a spray gun, because you get spray guns from paint places to run on your compressor for about £25, £30.
Right, okay.
It's cheap as chips, really.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's various qualities. One thing I would say, if you're spraying with an aerosol, I would buy one of those, those plastic triggers that go on the top.
Yes.
Because when your finger is on there and you're pressing on, off, as you're doing your layers,
it's more fatiguing.
Your finger gets really fatigued, and then and then the paint can sometimes build up on your finger.
Yeah.
So you need to keep your hand away and then a bit more controlled. And just take your time.
And also, if you're using generic cans, if you are going to use spray cans, buy the nozzles that give you a fan pattern rather than like a general round spray pattern.
Oh, yeah, because they're like dinitrol or like underseal type focus nozzles, aren't they?
Yeah, so they're like your tins from Halfords or whatever will have a general like round. If you sprayed it at a piece of cardboard, it would come out round.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're doing bodywork and you want to get a finish similar to a paint gun, you can buy nozzles that fan the paint out in like a flat fan. Imagine you folded a fan out, and then it gives you a lot more control.
But make sure, so here's another one. So if it's a fan We sound like we know what we're talking about here. Anyone would think our Land Rovers are like painted like...
I was going to say.
But you know the nozzle, so your primer one, it's a slightly thicker nozzle than the top coat one. So be careful that you don't get them mixed up.
Yes.
Because the primer is a thicker paint.
I was going to say...
So a slightly wider nozzle.
Things I've painted recently, I've done little bits, like you say, door hinges and smaller body pieces with spray paint, but the series I've painted with roller and brush with that old paint that we keep laughing about.
Yeah, of course.
And if you're going to go out and, I'm not saying that this is right for you, but if you're going to go out and use it and get it scratched and green lane it and chuck stuff in the back, I don't really think you can beat, especially brush finish for touch-up ability. And actually, that ancient paint, I've put it on with a decent quality, I think it's a Harris brush. The way it fills itself and you lay it off after you've given it the initial
of course,
coat is absolutely amazing. The finish is flatter than I thought you could ever achieve with a brush.
So I know somebody who paints narrowboats professionally, and they use enamel paints with a brush, and they use the finest brushes. I mean, these paint jobs for narrowboats are, you know, some people call them barges outside of the UK, but they could be 50, 60, 70 feet boats, huge surface areas, and their paint, you cannot tell that's not been sprayed.
Yeah, it is amazing.
because of the way that
the process.
Yeah. It's all about the prep. So anyway, painting. So if I would paint something with a brush if it was an older vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends again on what the standard of the vehicle. It depends what you're going for. It depends if you're going to bring it out and on nice days and drive it and treat it nicely, or if you are going to use it off road and potentially get it scratched and things like that.
So, what's your thoughts then? Here's a question on like a wrap to finish on the external panels. Because that was all the rage not that many years ago. People were painting the entire vehicles in Raptor.
I can see why people do it. It's not for me. I think Raptor underneath for like underside of tubs, floor plates, chassis even, the LRO 90, that was Raptored. Had epoxy over galvanised, then Raptored on top of that. It was really, really tough. But I don't personally like Raptored bodywork. And once you've done it, getting it back to
that's hugely thick, isn't it?
Yeah, if you ever wanted to change it, you'd be in for a nightmare.
Yeah, Raptor and Line X is another company that people were using. Some of that can be tintable, so if you do want to go hardened off-roader and you wanted a quick job, you can tint that stuff, can't you? So it doesn't have to be black or white, it can be the colour of your car.
Yeah.
But But that's,
years and years ago, I used to help a lot of friends out with drift cars and things like that. And that was back when it was so cheap to do and it was great fun. We used to buy graffiti paint. It was called Montana 94. You could get it off the internet. Dirt cheap. Thousands of colours to choose from. And you could get it with all different nozzles and things like that because it's meant for like artwork, graffiti artwork.
Okay.
But you could wash a car, give it a quick scrub with a Scotch pad, and use these graffiti cans, and it wasn't a showroom finish, but it went on so evenly. I was amazed, and you can get a reasonable finish with that. I've actually thought about doing a Land Rover in it just to see if it's as good as I remember. You're obviously never going to get close to something like a proper paint finish from, a good
just
company.
thinking I could come along and put like a tag on it or something.
I mean, yeah, but you could buy a case of like 12 cans for, it was cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of different ways when it comes to paint. But I would say, we've sort of gone around the houses to answer your question here. If you've got someone you know or a friend of a friend who does bodywork and paint for a living, ask for their advice. They probably won't, all paintwork's expensive now, but if they've got any top tips to pass on to you that you can do to make their job easier, or if you do all the prep and then have it painted professionally, you're going to save a ton of money.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Well, we finally got to the end of that one. What was I going to say? Oh, talking of paint, I passed this morning a Discovery 1 on the way here. It was Epsom green, really nice green 5-door. And first of all, I thought, wow, I can't remember the last time I saw a Discovery 1 that clean. Then I thought, I wonder if that's a Japanese import, because it was a really late reg.
Okay.
Do you remember about, I don't know how long it would have been, 15, 20 years ago now, I suppose, the market was sort of flooded with these Japanese import discoveries.
I do remember. I think like Simmonites used to sell them.
Yeah, that's right. Because they were, obviously they don't salt the roads in Japan, and that was like a massive selling point because UK cars just dissolve everywhere, don't they?
Didn't they have to get rid of them after a certain amount of years? You weren't allowed an older car or something.
I'm not entirely sure.
There was a reason why they got rid of cars. Like, there was a lot of Japanese import cars generally.
A lot of them were a similar sort of spec, so automatic. Pretty much all had aircon. Not all of them had sunroofs, which is only a good thing. And they'd often had been quite nice colours. But I thought to myself, I wonder if there's still a market. I wonder if there's still if it would still be a good idea, if there's any left over there, to import Discoveries back over here from Japan.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really know why it sort of petered out, because it seems obvious. Like, why wouldn't you import? If you want one to keep, why wouldn't you get it from a company with no salt?
Possibly the value of the car now isn't worth it for some people to bring over, import charges.
Potentially. But when you look at what real clean ones are making over here now, it's sort of, I don't know.
I may have just discovered a new business model
and given it away.
Yeah.
It's sort of similar to the whole when Land Rover started their reborn program, and they were bringing in all the Series 1s from Australia because they were mostly complete and not completely rotten. And I know there's a couple of other people who've been bringing over early series from that corner of the planet, and obviously over from in Europe as well. There's a lot two-door Range Rovers and series vehicles that are sort of abundant over there that aren't totally rotten.
Well, I saw last week, as you know, I was on holiday.
Steve's been on his holidays.
Yeah, and over in Tenerife, and I saw a really nice, I think that was Epsom Green, 5-door Discovery one.
Yeah.
Left-hand drive. Totally looked absolutely rot-free. And it was living by the coast.
I was going to say, that's what's kind of amazing about them. I know...
but you don't get the wind and the rain washing the salt in, do you, from those climates? Yeah. So it's not sitting there in a damp...
Yeah, it's when you drive across a road that's been salted in the
Yeah, that's where the true rot is coming from. So even though that sits by the coast, there was a bit of... the bonnet was a bit bleached with the sun. So you could tell it had been there a long time. But I do like, and I've said about this before, but I do like seeing Land Rovers outside of the UK.
I always do as well. I mean, the last time I was on holiday, we saw, it was actually one of the tour operators, travel agents, had 110s, 5-door 110s.
Are you about Chewy?
I am on about Chewy, yeah.
I saw them last year.
Yeah?
In Cape Verde.
Same place.
Oh, there you go.
We don't go on holiday together.
Yeah, I mean, we're not that pally. Anyway, I didn't like Speedo, so...
yeah. But no, they do. They seem keen on 110, don't they, Chewy?
Well, I went, say, last year... No, 2 years ago, I was in Tenerife again. And I actually...
Someone's doing all right.
Someone needs holiday working with you, mate. That's what it is. And I went to have more holidays since working with you than ever before.
Well,
yeah, just saying.
It's the success of LRM, mate. That's what that is.
Yeah. Keep buying the magazine so I can go. But so I went on a Land Rover tour with Tamarin Adventures, I think they're called.
Okay.
And interesting. So I wrote about it in the magazine in Rice's Rovers a couple of years ago, and we went out to Mount Teedy, so up into the mountains, and looked at all the lovely scenery. Spent a day in the back of a 110. You can imagine, hot and sweaty,
in like a county station wagon.
Yeah, in a Puma engine one, but they'd removed the roof. The actual roof panel was like canvas, but you'd still got the metal sides. And I spoke to the guy driving it, and because they had Land Cruisers on there as well, and they all wanted to use Land Rovers.
Well,
and the guy that owns that company, apparently, when Land Rover decided they were going to cease production, he bought loads of them.
Right.
To future-proof their business, because they don't want really to run any other vehicle. Nothing serves the purpose.
Oh, fair.
And those vehicles are 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Up and down. I mean, we went around some serious roads. They know every single turn in the roads, every single bump. Fantastic.
I remember
Brilliant.
a few years ago, my wife and I went to Rhodes on holiday, and they did a Jeep safari. It was in
I think they called this a Jeep safari. And it was picture of a Land Rover. I was like, oh, I hope I get the Land Rover.
Yeah, but that was a similar thing, and they all had two utility body 110s, soft tops with V8s.
Oh, nice.
And we were all in bench seats in the back, and they give you about halfway through the day, you have water pistols and water bottles, and you have a water fight with other people in the other Land Rovers.
Oh, good fun.
All up in the mountains. It was awesome. Barbecue at lunch, and it was just if you could I couldn't think of a better place and better terrain, real rocky, hot, quite technical tracks. V8 110, manual, soft top, fantastic. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to get a job with them.
Why didn't you?
I don't know. I should have done, really. But
bye then. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
But yeah, even I just love spotting Land Rovers on holidays. It's sad, really, isn't it?
Well, is it?
The number of pictures I get sent in from readers of Land Rover Monthly for the Your Pictures section, a lot of them are from people who have gone on holiday and spotted Land Rovers because it's cool. Yeah,
they still stand out, don't they?
There's
in the sea of say Aronas and says what else, definitely. A Defender and a Discovery still looks the part.
You see quite a few in Ibiza as well. I've been to Ibiza a couple of times, and they're keen for a Defender over there. They just sort of fit in. It's a cool
no other vehicle quite cuts it.
Yeah,
but it's interesting now. A tour company future-proofing the business by buying stock, so they could always keep a vehicle on the road. Yeah, they've got quite a few of these vehicles, but you see them all the time.
It's sort of similar to, I suppose it was a bit of not a panic buy, but obviously we had a piece from Greg King a couple of issues ago about when he went to go and see Twisted, who famously bought up loads of the very, very last Defenders before they went out of production. And they've been, selling them here and there, doing their mods. And, if you want, that's as close as you're going to get to a brand new one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. If you've seen a Land Rover on your holidays and you'd like to see it in print, and you probably will have taken a picture because that's what we all do, send it over. Editorial at LRM.co.uk, and we'll put it in Your Pictures, which is still a hugely popular section of the magazine.
Yeah, I love looking at pictures, isn't it?
It's great. And never short of material either. People just love to send in the photos, which is great. Long may it continue, I say.
Definitely.
So rolling on from that, should we have product of the week a little bit earlier than usual?
Yeah, go on then.
Should we crack on with a product of the week? And actually, this fits in with our theme of going on holiday with Land Rovers because it is rear passenger aircon for Defenders, a kit where you can fit rear passenger aircon to 110s and 130s. It is from Ministry of Defender, ministryofdefender.co.uk. Basically, so it's primarily for multi-seat 110s and 130s, but it will fit 90s as well if you've removed the centre bulkhead. Basically a secondary aircon HVAC, heater, ventilation, air conditioning unit, which goes on the back of the cubby box. It's actually a replacement cubby box, which has
I see. So you need the bulkhead to remove to allow the air to flow through.
Yes.
I get you.
It's got twin armrests on top, and it's got 3-speed fan. And you can fit it to any Defender that already has aircon. So pretty cool little kit, actually, especially if you're using your Defender in hot climate or you've just got really picky rear passengers. 1,850 quid, which isn't cheap, but actually, compared to a lot of full aircon kits, not bad at all.
No. Anyway, being in the back of a 110 without air conditioning, which I recall is quite a hot place to be. So, especially in 30-degree heat.
Yes, I should imagine it is. But yeah, windows open, you get a bit of a breeze through, but nothing quite beats air conditioning, especially when you've been out in it all day and you're a bit... you're ready to cool down. So, as we've had product of the week, shall we roll straight into feature of the week?
Have you got one?
Of course. What do you take me for?
I don't know.
Unprepared?
I'm taken aback. I've been away a week and then I've come back and you're all prepared.
I know. Well... we're going to go for, actually, this month's cover star, which is a Discovery 2 owned by a man called Tom Burnett. It's a very, very nicely built Disco 2. He sort of has a background in modified sort of performance cars, shall we say. But then he went off to Australia for a year and he bought a cheap Discovery 1 and spent the year driving around Australia in the Discovery 1 with a tent.
Nice.
Just a ground tent. So fair play to him. And basically that got him hooked on Land Rovers, and he's come back and he's owned a few, and his latest one is this very, very smart Disco 2. So
and that is a very, very smart Disco 2. It's one of those that you look at and think that's been well thought out.
Absolutely, which is what I certainly look for in Land Rovers that we feature, because there's so many about that have just had, the catalogue thrown at them, but this one is really, really nicely laid out, and the finish on it is fantastic as well. It's like it's been done well. So fair play to you, Tom, and you can read the whole story in the current issue of Land Rover Monthly. So be sure to grab that in the local shop, or subscribe, or get it online.
Sounds like a deal to me.
We're proud to partner with Adrian Flux, an insurance broker that specialises in covering all types of Land Rovers, including classic, ex-military, modified and Q-plated models. Adrian Flux offers a range of optional extras to make the policy your own and can provide cover for off-roading, green laning, agreed value and build-up cover. Plus, they even offer a discount of up to 15% for Owners Club members. Simply search Adrian Flux Land Rover Insurance for more information, or call them directly on 0344 728 0417 for a quote.
So anyway, back to your project. So I've been away a week. I've got no idea where you're at. Is it running?
No.
Okay, moving on.
It is pretty much, if I top the oil up and put a battery on it, it would run. But the way things have sort of happened, I've had a bit more time to make things nicer than they were before I took it apart. So I'm running the battery cables a lot nicer and adding extra earths and things like that. So in theory, there's nothing stopping it from running. The oil cooler and everything is back together. The fuel system is sorted out. It's got coolant in it. So in theory, nothing is stopping it from running, except I haven't run battery cables to it yet. So no, in answer to your question, but it's nearly there. And in an exclusive reveal, I can tell you that in my spree of painting things, I've decided to do it all green. Everything is green.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I chose to do that. There is an Instagram page, which I'm going to frantically try and find. Solid Hole Side Shots. Have you seen that on?
I have, yes. Yes.
I really like this page, and they posted a 109 truck cab parked somewhere nice in a town, I think it was. Where is it? And it's a NATO, there it is. Oh, what a beauty.
Yeah.
NATO green 109 with bare galvanised cappings, which mine will also have because I've flat wheeled all the paint off them.
Okay.
With a green truck cab, and all the panels are green. And I thought to myself, I'm going to copy that so I have deal with it.
So that might be one of our listeners' vehicles.
Yeah, so if you own that, it's got black wheels on it. Can't quite tell.
Are you going to still stick with your white ace boats?
I think I might change them.
Yeah, I knew this was happening. I knew this was going to happen.
I haven't budgeted to change them.
Well, when does this budget come into equation when you're building Land Rovers?
Well,
does your wife listen to this?
Endless money. No, and even if she did, she wouldn't be bothered because she knows that it's sort of the only thing I spend my money on. But
certainly not your haircut.
I do need a haircut.
You do?
My hair doesn't.
Sorry, man.
It's a bit bushy at the moment. You won't have to get yours cut soon. Right, that's falling out.
Thanks, mate.
But no, I don't know what wheels to put on it. I quite fancy some of the 16 by 6.5s from Britpark because Neil Watterson's got them on his 110. He's just fitted them and they look so good. They're like the perfect size and they're tubeless.
I'll just go and get some.
I need to stop yapping on about these wheels.
Just go and get them.
I might have to.
You've only mentioned L322s once today.
Yeah, well, I know. I do like them.
Who doesn't?
Or I won't give anything away.
Garages love them.
Garages do love them. That is true. My mate's actually the same guy I was on about who bought that 88 from the auction.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a Disco 2 that he uses to tow his trailer, but he's also recently bought an L322 TD6, a really early one, which is a bit of a dog, to be honest, but it just went through an MOT, and now he's like, oh, I don't know whether to keep the Disco 2 or keep the Range Rover, because they both serve the same purpose, but he doesn't need both. Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
What are you saying?
I don't know. I haven't seen them both.
Well, one's a Disco 2 and one's an L322. You know what they look like. The Disco 2 is a facelift. It's a manual, I think. No, it's automatic. Automatic facelift, Bonatti grey. He's done the welding on the chassis. The L322 is silver. It's it's a bit rough around the edges.
I'd keep the Discovery 2.
Yeah, I thought the same actually, but I don't know. He seems to be erring on the side of the L322. I think part of that is because he's the sort of level he's been selling the L322 at, because he's had it up for sale. He's just been constantly messed about by people because it is cheap.
Put the price up.
Well, it's a difficult one because the cheaper you advertise a vehicle for sale, the more you have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one.
It is tricky.
I suppose they're sort of, from a comfort point of view, there probably isn't too much in it. I mean, the L322 would be comfier, quieter, bit more powerful. But Disco 2 TD5, they're just something so...
Yeah, I do like them.
Reliable.
I do like them.
You know what I mean? Like sturdy about them, isn't there?
And they're fixable.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Well, they are, aren't they? I mean, as long as it's, the chassis and the body haven't completely returned to the ground, they're not too bad. The engine's good. So I don't really know. I think I would probably keep the TD5.
Yeah, I think I would.
But little insight into his world. He's still loving his Series 3. What a fine machine it is as well. I'll be putting a Galv chassis on that next year, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to intercept you before then, though.
Yeah, that's all right.
To help.
We'll get it done. What am I going to rib you about, though, when that's finished?
Probably the next thing. I can't buy any more Land Rovers. I'm at capacity. I've settled down with my 90 though. I had a bit of a wobble thinking, should I get rid? But it's because I haven't driven it.
The TD5?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because there's nothing to replace it with.
No, and yours is particularly nice, I think, even though it pains me to admit that. I think if you were to get rid of it, you'd never have one that nice again. So
No, you wouldn't. No, not with a bit of a backstory and a bit, I don't know, it's original and straight.
Yeah, it's nice to see. And actually, becoming harder to find in that sort of condition. But trying to think we've got in the diary. We've always got something on the go, haven't we? I'm trying to think what we can tell people about. We're getting towards that awkward bit of the year where the sort of events are sort of...
Christmas.
Yeah. Because it's a bit funny for us because we go through the summer and as the summer sort of ends, we think, the events are going to sort of quieten down a bit now, and then they don't because October comes and you've got tons of spares days and then there's always something on.
Tell you what I'm going to say.
Go on.
So, February. Let me just get the exact same date.
Is this going to be an exclusive reveal?
An exclusive reveal. So, Sunday, the 2nd of February, at the Malvern 4x4 Spares Day.
Oh, yeah, this is exciting.
So, anyone that's been before will know it's a very, very good day out. And we have the Avon Hall, the Y Hall, and all of the outside traders. But not next year.
No.
We're going to have an extra hall called the Kildare Hall.
Wow.
And in it is going to be British restoration.
So, it's an extra element.
Element to that event.
Yeah. And it's a focus on people, companies,
companies with restoration. There's going to be clubs with a before, a rebuild that's commencing, one that's finished. There's probably going to be some tractors in there.
Tractors?
Yeah, British. Just British. And also all manner of stuff. So we're currently in talks with a few clubs. They're going to bring some displays, some club stands. The LRM stand will be there, so you can subscribe to the magazine. Come and meet us.
Awesome.
We might do podcast live.
Should we do a live podcast?
A live podcast from the Kildare Hall.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so I've just put that on the agenda right now because you've just agreed. So
fine, get it in the diary. I'm keen.
Get your tickets. So the bookings aren't open yet, but by the time you listen to this, they might be. So check out the Land Rover monthly website. book early and you will save money on your tickets.
That's the first one of the year, isn't it?
That is the first one of the year.
Well, what a way to kick the calendar off.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And anyone that's been to Malvern will know the backdrop's beautiful. You've got the Malvern Hills, and then the Kildare Hall is the all-new hall that's barely had any events yet. It's new.
Wow.
So,
I was going to say, actually, Malvern, if you've been to one of the Spares Days in the past, we're hugely grateful to Series 1, Series 2 Club and a few others who always put on like a little mini display, don't they? And it just gives that extra bit of something to see, people to chat to. But this is really going to level up on that, isn't it? And
definitely. And, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing because the majority of it is indoors.
Right.
And there's a nice cafe on site and all the facilities that you need.
Happy days. Yeah. Nice hot cup of tea on a February morning.
Yeah.
And some Land Rovers. What is there not to like?
Absolutely. So make sure you check that out. And as and when people book in, we will be updating our socials and such like.
You heard it here first.
New content. Yeah, no one else knows about this.
I didn't even know about it.
Oh, wow.
You just told me. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, you did know. You should.
I did know.
If you didn't know, where have you been?
Not listening to you.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really, really excited for this. And yeah, if we can make it happen so we can record a podcast live, it'd be awesome. And we can get people to ask, hopefully, suitable questions while we're there.
And whilst here, if you are a club and you are interested in coming along, email. This is a different email address now. So it's shows@lrm.co.uk. Email that email address with your club, how many people you've got, and we'll have a look at you and see if we can find you some space in the hall.
We would love to have you, and I'm sure everyone would love to see what you've got going on. So yeah, there you go, an exclusive new event.
A new addition to an established event. Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
And then, of course, we've got the other Spares Days. And then, of course, we've got LRM Live, which is back for 2025.
Which is about 6 months away.
Yeah.
In fact...
It's less than that, isn't it?
It's 6 months in 2 days' time.
Hadn't you better hurry up and get some stuff?
What, as in organise it? Yeah. Do you know what? It's scary how fast the year goes when you're running events.
It's a massive undertaking as well, isn't it? People don't realise.
No.
Yeah.
You wonder why my hair's falling out and going grey. It's because I've got into events.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Explains it, I suppose. Yeah, so don't forget, get that in the calendar as well. That's going to be a cracking event.
So we've got a mammoth year next year. So 2025 is going to be...
bigger than ever.
The biggest year ever.
Yeah. Busy times. And there'll be some other announcements along the way, so stay tuned with the socials and the podcast. Oh, I've put a new YouTube video up, so have a watch of that, please.
I nearly did mention that, actually. We were talking about your project again, weren't we?
I almost forgot myself.
Yeah.
So you may have seen reasonable numbers. The introduction to my Series 3. I've just uploaded the first instalment of stripping it down for the Maya galvanised chassis. So head over and have a look at that. It's got some quite informative and I like to think quite funny bits. It was getting later in the day and we were all sort of going a bit scatty and the blood sugar levels were dropping. And
you were getting moody, you mean?
I wasn't getting moody.
Actually, you were in good spirits.
I was in good spirits. I was so excited for that project to actually get off the ground because it'd been quite a long while. It'd been in the works for a bit.
Yeah, it's in your mind for a while. Then you've got to acquire all the parts.
Yeah,
because you're doing it in such a small period of time, aren't you? You're doing it in a day or 2 days.
I'm still stunned at how far we got in just one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please do check that out. And if you could subscribe to the LRM channel, that'd be really good. As usual, sign up to the newsletter.
And you'll get to hear about everything.
Yeah, as well as hearing us yapping on here. You get all the latest vehicles for sale on our website. You get accessory, pick of the month accessories. And you get events. So, and it's free. So I don't really understand why you wouldn't.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's enough promotion. We've probably
over-promoted ourselves.
Sorry,
we are influencers, as we get getting told.
Did you see that email from our esteemed colleague Alistair Cusick earlier this afternoon?
Yes, I did.
Who started with his email, "Hello, influencers," which thanks for that, Ali. All good fun. All good fun. Anything else to say? Are you done?
Am I done? No, not really. But yeah, I'm good.
That's it then, is it? We'll wind this up.
We'll wind this up and we'll come back next week with more great content.
Yeah, no, I'm keen. Yeah, please do just thank you, actually. Everyone who listens to this, and I do get to see the little statistics online when I upload each episode and things like that. It's got a bit of a following now, and we've recently rolled over 20,000 listeners, which is amazing.
It is, actually, to think about from this small idea, sitting in here recording the first one, to now, it's pretty impressive.
In the grand scheme of things, for in podcast land, I mean, I don't know how many listeners other podcasts have, but I'm guaranteeing it's loads more than 20,000. But for us, it's a big deal, and we're really grateful. So thank you to everyone who listens to this, and everyone who buys a mag, and everyone who supports us in other ways. So we're all just here trying to have fun with Land Rovers, aren't we?
Exactly.
And yeah, as I said before, long may it continue. So we'll call it a day for this one, shall we? And we'll catch you next week.
Bye for now.